Recording started.
With regards to who I've hired recently, my background in history is much more systems and operations than software development. A lot more software development roles, so working a lot more with software developers and product management and doing that kind of functionality. With regards to where I see IT industry going in the next 3 to 5 years, I think there are a couple of things that everybody would agree are here to stay and getting bigger. Things like virtualization, cloud computing, ubiquitous access to applications and data. To that end, I think looking forward, the skills that are going to be most critical are going to be networking connectivity, because it always comes down to the final last mile of how you get to your data and your applications. Security and encryption, biometric, being able to either work on the development of or the troubleshooting and support of those technologies to make sure that if I'm getting into my protected health record from my cell phone or my iPad or my car or my TV or wherever I am in the world, that all of that is done in an encrypted and safe and secure manner. I think a lot's going to be happening with power, and a lot of the technologies and the wireless technologies are all very heavily drawn on power, so I think we're going to see an increase in things like kinetic power reclaiming from the movements, the pads that you can rest a device on that will automatically charge it without cables. So looking at what sort of skills, I would say those are the areas that I would focus on, and things that if you look at a mobile workforce, a mobile lifestyle, those portable, handheld, networking and security technologies, I think are going to become super, super critical going forward.
So now I'm speaking, I'll put my instructor's hat on. What would you want me to teach? I can't, as a community college, I can't go out and buy 50 iPhones and give those to my students, although they probably already own them. Nor can I go out and buy a bunch of Android devices.
Correct.
And so we have some limitations as instructors, budget-wise, that we can't do. So what would be feasible for a class over a semester that we can offer?
Understand the networking aspects of those devices.
Of the wireless side?
The wireless side.
Okay.
How do those devices connect? Because there really are a fairly restricted set of protocols they're going to use, and they all use them even though they implement them differently. What are the troubleshooting steps that you're going to take? What are the features that you can add? You know, can you add encryption onto the email cache of attachments? But looking at the technology that's there that is clearly going to be baked into these things and becoming a master of those. In addition to that, what skills I would recommend, take a step beyond the technology. And when I say that, what I mean is I know a lot of people coming out of school who are excellent technologists and lousy IT professionals. Mm-hmm. They've had no supervisory experience. They've had no experience working with vendors. They've had no experience doing user support or interacting with people. Whether it's a coder who wants to hide in a closet saying I code all day, or a guy who wants to sit in a data center and just plug in cables, ultimately, some of those people are going to take the next step. Some of those people are going to be front of the house step. Give them the experience to interact with people in a professional level. Let them take their skills to that next level and help them grow into the managers and supervisors and IT professionals that they're going to become. So
let me ask fellow instructors, anyone offering something similar along those lines at all? Okay, interesting. All right, I'm trying to move on with cramped timelines. Yeah.
So again, my name is Sanjay. I work at MindNet. We're a fairly small company with about 400 employees scattered across the world. Our main office is in San Francisco. So keep that perspective in mind for the answers that I'm going to provide. I've spent the last 10 years working in smaller companies and startups of the size, and I think that what's interesting is that in the last 10 years, the kind of hires that I've done have kind of bifurcated into two different roles. The mid-tier has started to disappear a bit. You know, I either hire guys or girls who are very high-tech and have been in the industry for a long time, or entry-level folks. There's not a lot of room in between the companies that I've been at. Now, I think this talk is geared more towards the entry-level folks, and so I think that the kind of people that I look for have the basics. They have operating system, and that might include Windows 7, Windows 2008 Server, whatever that latest flavor is, and to an increasing degree, certainly over the last 10 years, a lot of Linux skills, right? TCP/IP, storage, and basic networking, right? Now, that is just the baseline. They have to have that to just get into the door for the interview with you. What they really need to make the score is the soft skills. And if they don't have that, I know that they'll have the basic technical skills to get by for the first 2 or 3 years. But if they don't have the soft skills, if they don't have a commitment to lifetime education, they're not going to make it in IT. And really, I'm much more willing to take a chance on a person that doesn't have the right technical skills for an entry-level position, because I know that I can train them. I know that they've got enough brain power and soft skills to go home and learn whatever they have to learn and succeed. I think that, I went through this list of courses, and so many of them are so detailed and technical and stuff that I would expect, my high-level technical professionals to know. I mean, it's a lot to ask an entry-level person to understand all this stuff, and to learn it in a classroom, that's one thing. But to really apply it, that's a whole other thing. If someone went through this VMware course, I don't expect the basics from them. But if they think that they're going to get a high-level, high-paying position in any company just by going through this stuff, that's not going to work, from my perspective. I think focus on the soft skills, focus on the basic building blocks for IT, and get your students prepared for entry-level positions.
I have a quick question. How do you evaluate that at a job interview?
Well, we ask them lots of technical questions. I ask them why they want to be in IT, right? And if I can smell it, I can smell it out of it. If I know that they're in IT because they want to make a quick buck, it's going to be really obvious in the first 15 or 20 minutes. If they tell me that they've been taking classes and they have the right expectations, right? They know that they're not going to be the senior admin within a year or two. If they talk about what their goals are and what skills they have and what they've done, that's usually enough. I think there's a lot that you can pick up just by speaking to a person, it's right in front of you. I will usually route them through the whole team. So, if they send off big warning signals, then we'll just cut off the interview pretty quickly and they won't talk to the rest of the team. But, if I think that there's something there, if there's a spark, then they'll talk to the rest of the team. And usually, people on the team are pretty much agreement. When we see something good, everyone usually sees it.
The problem I see in some of the larger organizations is sometimes people can't get through HR. They're actually going to these topics and don't have a certain set of fixed skills, so they never get to you.
Well, I think that for entry level, we've hired 3 interns. We have a department of 10. We've hired 3 interns in the last 2 years. And we've gone out to schools directly and asked them for resumes. We haven't gone to the recruiter. We haven't waited for someone to contact us. We have a very certain, specific, basic technical skill set that we're looking for. We've had success with certain schools in the past, and those are the ones that we'll go back to.
If I can just add something onto your statement. In addition to startups, I've also worked in very large organizations, UN organizations, and most very large companies, because they get so bombarded at low-level positions, they have keyword scanners. And so what I would recommend to you is all of your students coming out, put every technology, every protocol, every buzzword you can think of on a page labeled technologies. And it will look for, I need somebody with SQL and TCP/IP and Windows 98. And if that happens to be on the resume, ding, they will get at least into the next one. To this day, I still have a page of every technology I've ever touched, and some of it's pretty old and creaky like that.
I would like to add to that is if they are asked like 10 questions, make sure the buzzwords are on all 10 questions, because if they see it on one, if they only see those buzzwords on one question, but they're scanning the other questions, make sure they're using those buzzwords on every question, not just say, I answered that in question 1, because it doesn't scan.
And the final step to that is, don't make yourself out as an expert in every single one of those things, or I won't believe you. Just say, I've touched these things. I like actually what he said. It's a page that says, I've touched all these technologies. It doesn't say, man, I'm an expert on, every single one of these 200 technologies.
Keep working
right.
with John, right?
So
Word perfect email.
Thank you, Dora.
Visical. You have to have gray hair for that.
That's right.
Where's John?
Somebody told me they're still in business.
Oh, boy.
All right, Mitch, let me ask you.
So, we're government.
Oh, wait, sorry. Let me interrupt. By the way, Social Works for MindJet, great product.
I was going to say it is.
Yeah.
We're yes.
All right, Mitch.
I'll put a little plug in. If you haven't looked at it, mindjet.com, it's really good.
Yeah.
And Catalyst and all that, we use it. So, we're a different, we're a government agency. So, but like everybody else, I will say we hire at the low end, we hire at the high end. And what we've done is, in our organization, we say, okay, our folks are going to be senior administrators, they're going to know how to do it, and then we have an ongoing debate as to whether or not, if there's a major upgrade on the system, whether we do it by reading a book in-house or we budget for consulting firms. And Doug was saying at the beginning of this, the problem is the baby boomers are retiring, okay? And I'm 55 years old, my boss is 62 years old, 63 years old. And I'm waiting for him to retire so I can take the directorship, which I had once before, and my guys expect me to do it. So I have everything from 27 to 44-year-old men and women working for me. And part of the problem is just what everybody has said, and that is they come in, they know how to do networking. They know how to do desktops. They know how to do servers, okay? They know how to do SAN, whatever it is. They know how to do VM, okay? They either learned it in school or learned it on the job, or they got hired. And a lot of us will probably tell you, for example, we have a SAN from a company in Minnesota. You come in, you dealt with a SAN, maybe I hire you. You have no idea about my SAN. In my budget, when I hire you, I'm going to send you to school, wherever that is, to get the training, okay? So a good company will supply the on-the-job training. But when a person comes in and has no business background and doesn't understand how a company works, and they get hired as the help desk, or the network, or the SAN, or the desktop guy, and they say, I need something, or I need 10 of these, or 20 of these, and 50 of these, they think you're going to reach in your pocket and lay the magic checkbook. They have to understand how every business, including the ones you work in, works. That there are budget cycles, that there are procedures, that there are justifications, okay? And they have to understand that, and they have to understand budget cycles so that, for example, our budget cycle is 18 months. I'm budgeting now for July through next June. Okay, every other company does on a budget cycle. So they have to know, they better ask now and think about it, not come and ask July 1st, say, you know what, oh, we need this, we don't have money. Okay? And to answer your question about how to get past HR, if you're not doing scanning, what HR will do in our organization is we manually read it, is they've got to meet the minimum qualifications. And most companies, scanning or not, if you're close and you think you can get your foot in the door, if you haven't got some minimum qualifications, you're not going to get in. And I think internships are a great way to do it. And if anybody here is teaching in the Bay Area and has students that want an internship, I'm looking for people right now. And my biggest problem with that is we pay $18 and $19 an hour, 20 hours a week. Okay? That's a really good job, and we expose them to all of the technical services brand of technologies. Desktops, SANs, servers, VM, Active Directory, Exchange, help desk, and I can't get people to come to work.
Where are you located?
I'm physically at the Golden Gate Bridge.
Part of my problem is I'm in an obscure place.
Yeah.
Okay? But,
Take a vote.
well, the other thing is, we're looking for people, like you said, that understand, if nothing else, if you talk about classes, you have to teach the core. You have to understand the principles of security, the principles of networking. Possibly teach some classes in Active Directory and how it works, and things like, if you want to get crazy, if somebody's going to be a system administrator in a Microsoft environment, teach group policies. Okay, stuff like that, and scripting. Everybody here talks about, well, it's all automated. There's a GUI, but you know what? There are things like PowerShell, and there are things like logon scripts that everybody uses. So when you sit at your desk in your office and you log onto the computer, all those drives you like to see that have your corporate files and your personal files, your departmental and your project files, all that comes from some kind of login script, and there is a script.
So let me interrupt for a second. Anybody teach scripting classes?
John?
Yeah, so, no, anybody teach logon scripts?
Just a little in the...
Yeah, like AD, yeah, like a little bit on how to map drive letters, things like that, okay. So one out of however many people we have here.
Well, I just know what exactly.
Well, right, but we all do. So I teach it also, so actually that's two. Anybody teach a specific class on PowerShell? Okay, we don't, and I'll tell you, Mitch, the reason that we don't is because if I put it on the schedule, and I'm sure everybody here would back me, I'm not going to get 30 students going, yeah, I want to take PowerShell. Right? I mean, it's...
Well, yeah.
I'd rather take virtualization. I know I think, yeah. And so it's kind of, it's a sell to the students. And that, I think, is our...
And the companies are using it in that area.
Yeah, so, now I put my worker's hat on, and you got to know PowerShell. But I can't convince students.
The other side of the coin is because you take scripting, okay?
Yeah.
My server folk script, my network guy scripts, my desktop guy scripts, my GPO person scripts. They don't think about it that way, but they all have to know how to do it, okay? For example, we had a problem. We wanted to make sure we were applying end user rights properly for a home directory, okay? You get a new employee, they need to have a home directory. You have to get the right privileges in Active Directory. Well, the groups you're going to do, but when you get to that folder and applying the right privileges to the folder that's assigned on the disk drive, that's a bunch of text scripts, okay? So there's a script. And knowing how to do that and or take that set of commands and apply it. You got 10 new employees, you don't have to type it in 10 times. Do things like loops and basic programming language skills. Maybe that's it. It goes back to the idea of programming algorithms and stuff that used to be
basic, right? I mean, I learned login scripts from basic.
Right.
I can't convince a 17-year-old that they should learn basic.
Well, then take it into a network administration class, not administrator, but an administrator's course, where all the different pieces get.
So does somebody else have a question?
The question I have is, should the students be telling us or asking what to teach, or should it come from a more knowledgeable base? I mean, they're responding to things they read in the magazines and I guess in the marketplace, but is there something? Should we be getting direction from somewhere else? Maybe the employers.
We all went to college, we all have a degree. Right? Everybody has some kind of degree. And when you got your degree, there was required courses. Okay? In either in general education or your specialty, whatever it was. So somewhere in there, this kind of stuff should be in some kind of required course, baked in, even if it's buried in there and they don't see it in the description, but they have to take it. Because if nothing else, when you go to school and you get a technical education and you have no idea of business education, then you're good to sit in the chair and answer the phone and be the help desk guy. You're good to be the network administrator and learn the Cisco commands. But when you've got to interact and ask for money, budgeting, that kind of stuff, all that, goes out the window.
I have a question. Now, almost all of us are from community colleges, so we're looking at programs with 60 credits.
And you have to have at least, I know, in Pennsylvania where I am, in our school, you have to have at least 21 general education credits.
So let me translate. How many classes would that be?
I'm sorry, our credits are, most of our courses are 3.5, figure it 3 credits, 20
classes.
20,
Okay.
Well, no, well, our networking courses are more, so we're looking at,
So 18? 18 to 25 classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
18 to 20.
Okay, 18 to 20, just so that
Those classes last how long? Are those semesters, quarters?
45 hours.
So semester. Yeah. So 3 hours.
Well, it's 3 hours of lab and an hour and a half of lecture. I'm sorry, reverse that. 3 hours of lecture and an hour and a half of lab.
Here in California, we're going through a major revision with SB 1440, which was enacted last year. So we're going to be reducing the GE requirements. There's all kinds of stuff here that's going to affect us.
So I kind of want to lead into this.
Well, where I was headed is, you're talking about all of these courses. We don't have space to put them. So what we need to do is narrow it down to what you are really, really looking for.
I would eliminate that. So what I would say is take the classes you already have and bake the additional elements into them. If you have a networking class, bake in some scripting. If you've got an administration class, bake in some soft skills.
We do 3 server classes.
So
we're very specific on that.
I don't think you necessarily need to carve out a scripting class that nobody's going to want to take.
Right.
Make it part of 2 or 3 other classes.
You first, and then I'll get to you.
I'm from Purdue University in Indiana.
Yeah.
And we're going for, we have a whole series of probably 5 different campuses from one of the regional campuses in Chicago. And in order to be accredited, which gives a lot more credibility to you guys, right, to employers, we're either doing ABET, which is a type of certification international, or through ACM, the SIG IT standards, which again requires us to have input and active participation from the various industrial, business partners. So to get the answer to your question is, we get it from you guys, and if we don't, we're failing our students. The curriculum is a model curriculum, and Dr. Boyer from Baytech is going to be making a presentation on this tomorrow at 11 something. And that SIG IT 2-year model curriculum is really what we should be looking at. We've made that proposal to our Indiana Community College partners, Ivy Tech, who has 120,000 students throughout the state of Indiana. And they are moving, we hope, towards something like this because the standard and the ability to satisfy needs for the future, like we heard this morning with the welcome address, is critical for us to do our jobs and to be successful in what we do.
So you had a question.
It's actually an interesting point because I wasn't actually going there, but thanks as well. But anyway, what I was going to say is what we really started doing is trying to help our students become lifelong learners. And so while we're sitting there trying to do the model curriculum that you just talked about, we do it in a way that tries to get students to become problem solvers. So the very first course that we have these students taking the IT degree is IT problem solving. It's not the gadgets, it's not the programs, it's, what is IT? And it's all about problem solving. And so really trying to turn that upside down and have them start learning that they're going to have to go out and figure out some of this stuff on their own because it's so dynamic that we can't teach everything in their classroom. So they need to start being much smarter about what they in fact are trying to think about and understand within the context of IT. And so, it's one of those things where I think that there are ways to do it and have them actually help you introduce it within your classes.
One of the big issues also in community college is you pack so much technology into these 60 credits, okay, you get these specialists, but where do they go next, okay? I mean, what bachelor's program is going to accept these students so they round out and learn and go without having to start from ground zero because many colleges don't accept a lot of these high-tech courses at the bachelor's or bachelor's in technology level. So that's another problem that I'd love at the for, I guess, the industry to tell me what to do about this, and maybe to influence some of the four-year institutions to start to see that what a community college does translates to more advanced learning.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, Mitch.
What the way to set it down. And it's interesting that you bring it up, because we go to sessions with Deb when we met out in Diablo. Everybody says, well, we should teach this or teach that. But if I go back and think about where I started and got my education and what made me successful it wasn't COBOL, it wasn't anything else in the 80s. It was, I took a class in problem solving. I have a systems analysis and design, and that was the basis of my MBA at that time. And if you teach that, if they can't do that, right, if they can't add 2 and 2 and figure out where to go and apply the last principle to the next problem, then they're not going to really be good. They'll be all right, but they'll be better if they can do that. So that's an interesting comment.
Okay, so we have a question online, or maybe a couple.
Yeah. Fred online wants to know what level of electrical circuits / electronics knowledge is required for the types of jobs you are describing.
None.
That's a different group. Now you're into low voltage. When you get into things like security systems, cameras, security, access door control, you're into more electronics than this, and that's an electronics technician as opposed to what we're talking about, I believe.
I would say that for electrical, being able to understand how you convert amps to watts to
Yeah, I'll get.
As well as understanding that what I need today may not be what I need tomorrow, and being able to extrapolate that now in a 10-year cycle.
Was there another question online?
No. Okay. Let's. Yeah, FedEx.
I work for FedEx, and my position is a virtual position here because Memphis, Tennessee is where FedEx is. But I'm on the western region. We have Central, Eastern, and Southern, so there's managers in all your areas, Pennsylvania and Indiana. And you do have to apply online, unfortunately, and I do think they're hard to filter through. Last year when I interviewed people, we had 5 applicants. No one qualified. We had to post it again. We got 4 more applicants, and we finally took one, but they weren't really qualified. But we had a lot of people that were technical in hardware, but they didn't know how to program, they didn't know databases, and they didn't have the people skills. So.
And this was a low, middle, or high?
Low. I mean, the position I was the second step, but they do have associate positions. If you are graduate from 4 years or a 2-year that's technical. So DVC has a technical 2-year certificate. If they have that, they have an associate position. And you do have to go to FedEx.com careers to find them, but they need them well-rounded. Of course, FedEx in Memphis has the big data centers and high-tech things. Ours is a virtual team. They need to know people skills because we talk to customers. We're on the road. We go to customer sites. They need the people skills. They know. They don't need to be a super-duper database person, but they need to be able to consult with a customer and understand when they start talking about tables and indexes. They have to know what that means. Same with the hardware. They just have to know what an IP address is, how do you connect a LAN, put a proxy in. They just need some of those basics. They don't have to be a specialist in any of them. They have to be well-rounded in the position we're hiring for a virtual team.
Yeah, so let me tell you, I've talked to a lot of HR hiring managers in the Bay Area, and they tell me they post jobs on Craigslist. And in the past, they get 100 resumes, they maybe interview 5 and probably pull in 1. Now they're getting 1,000 responses, and maybe they'll call one of them. And it's because you throw every word out there and you get the match, and then you go through the interview or the screening process and you figure out, well, you don't have enough background. Yeah. So
FedEx does have internships. They do have internships.
So the other side of this is we're teaching technology skills, right? And how many of your students go through and actually complete the 2 years and come up with a degree? And I can tell you, in the 4 years or 6 years that I've been teaching, I think it's been 2. at Diablo Valley College in the technology area. And my guess is, I'm speaking for probably most all of you, it's 20%. 20%? That could be, yeah.
They get the skills that they need.
Yeah,
They don't
okay.
need the degree.
So as part of your degree, there are students who do, this is for our panel, at DVC, I'm advocating that our students, if they come up with a degree, should have English as a requirement. And I don't know.
That's a general education requirement.
Okay.
English, math.
And then physics or chemistry, one of the sciences, and which would be part of the problem solving. It's not direct, but right, physics is kind of problem solving.
Rather than that, which I was going to say this anyway, I'd rather see a business course. I'd rather see something from the business department because that's going to round out my employee to understand what is my company doing. You know, that's where I'd rather see.
And again, trade a business course is required in our program, and we have to write a business plan in there.
Guys, either what I said about the business plan or the other extreme, and teach a course in organizational behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can I get a 20-year-old to enroll in that class?
That's got to be required. That's got to be required.
Yeah.
I have another question. We have courses like help desk, the help desk administration. If you're not in business, then CTM has.
Well, but if they teach the principles of the business courses, that's.
Well, I think that's what they're doing, but there's no problem with people seeing that they're not in the business division.
No, because I mean, as an employer, yeah, I'm not going to know whether it was in the business division or not. I'm going to talk to my interviewee, and they're going to talk like somebody who's had a business course.
We do our own stuff like that. That's the problem.
Is the help desk a semester long?
I think it's a quarter. You know, we try quarter and quarters. I want to make a comment about the last thing. I think you should go with 30 years, and I think we've only got 2 or 3.
Yeah, sure. This is too late.
I'd like to ask you folks a question. How often do you have outside professionals coming to speak to your class?
Not often, every.
Because you're not going to. I've got 9 kids. I've seen I've been able to relate with young folks most of my life. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care if you got a course that can cure cancer. If you don't motivate them to see someone with a modicum of success from the real world, okay, talking to your students, it's not going to work. Roger Clements was a lot of things. But I'll tell you what, when he used to teach, he used to go to the University of Texas and work with the pitchers. Okay? And finally, one day, the coach said to him, well, why don't you go work with Cody? And he looked at the coach and said, he's not going to listen to me, I'm his dad. The guy won 6 Cy Young Awards. Now, he's got a cloudy past, but the point is, but the point remains the same. In a lot of ways, the teacher becomes the old lady or the old man. And so you're saying a kid doesn't want to take a course? I'll tell you what, I would stand in front of God and say, if you can't put sentences together, if you can't come up with a topic sentence, if you can't relate to my customer, I have absolutely no use for you. So if you can't, things we're talking about is problem solving, is excellence, the communication and the business acumen.
Tony,
So,
come to my class. Tell that to my students.
I'd love to do it. And
Use proper English.
And I don't see it. When I have interviews with the people that come to my company, we're a small company. One of the biggest products we've got is power management on PCs. We can't sell enough of it. But when we get our first interview with a new person, my first question is would you like some coffee? And the next question is tell me something about my company. Who do you think I compete with? You know what? They can't give me that answer. I'm done. All right. Goodbye. This is not show and tell. What can you do? And I think that is sorely lacking with the people I'm seeing. With our organization, someone could come in and do minor work on on the help desk. I mean, we have 17 employees, 10 are technical, so guess what? I don't need a help desk. But we bring them along. And our second meeting with that student is we sit them down and we show them our problems. What do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? We look and see if their eyes are glassing over, or we look and see if they're asking questions. If they don't like that, that's their attitude. Come on. We give anybody a chance, but we have zero tolerance on a person who's just going to sit there and go through the BS of a help desk or something. We want them to understand. Because guess what? Inside 45 days, they're implementing our systems. They have to. Okay? And our success is planned on, it's based on, even though it's very easy to install, we go to each customer. And we make sure they learn it in a day and a half. And these people got to be ready to do that. And the other thing we do is I give each person $250 when they join. Go to Men's Warehouse. Get 2 nice shirts. Do not let me see you walking in to my office or my customer's office without looking professional. No more throw them in the dark room and throw salami sandwiches at them. They've got to be able to do that. They've got to be able to relate to that customer. And when I ask my staff about this, these are the things the technicals were telling me. They don't get it. They don't get it and they don't want to get it. And that's probably why you're getting the drop-off rates of 3 years and 5 or 6 people doing it.
So Tony, tell me, if somebody had tattoos up and down and tattoo, would you hire them?
Not unless he's going to be a wideout or in the NFL or I wouldn't even talk to the person. I wouldn't even talk to them. That would be it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah.
The problem is whether
Tony's in sales, is what I should say. Sorry, go ahead.
It's still offensive. Whether you're,
Yeah.
I grew up in Buffalo. I spent 30 years in the East Coast, 25 years in the West Coast. And everybody said, oh, the West Coast is laid back. Well, you know what? Once you got here and you got into business and you went to make the presentation, I don't care who the senior manager is and what they started out as, once they get in the chair, they all act like Tony, and they say, you know what? I want somebody who can come who's presentable, can speak English, represent the product well, or the company, whatever. Because the first thing that happens is that person is no longer in the back room anymore, and they got to go out, whether they're going to go in your organization, they're in somebody's company, and some senior manager calls up and says, I need help, and you can't do it remote, or you've got to go to a meeting, and your employee that you kept in the back room is now out there in public. Right? It reflects badly on us as managers that we hired this person that they can't go out, and they seem like, so they don't think anything of our hire, they don't think anything of our department, and they don't think of anything of us as hiring managers. So, you know,
it's really been blurred. Business and technology right now are blurred. You can't distinguish when you're talking business and when you're talking technology. That wasn't the case 10 years ago.
Okay, so question in the back.
So, I'm not a community college instructor. I work with young people who are ages 10 to 18. And since we all know that by the time people get to be 18, it may be too late, may I ask you how many, some of you said you have internships, how many of you either have internship or shadowing opportunities for 16 and 17-year-olds? So if you could just, you know, tell me, because that's where we're going to make that difference before they get to you. So, which companies do that?
I'd say we would if you knew somebody. Engage your local businesses.
Okay.
And because if you know somebody in the business, you can say, hey, I've got somebody who I think would fit in your company. But we don't put anything publicly.
Okay. So do any of you have opportunities either shadowing, like a visit, or internship for 16 to 17-year-olds?
Yeah.
So I tell you what, come up to the end. Yeah. Your other question?
No, I love this idea, but if you walk to Upper Computer, you will see all the study-looking professionals and all the hearings, which to me, I don't like it, and I love this idea to be promoted.
You know, and that might be a person that
culture.
Maybe they need to be told, get out of Dodge a couple of times with a couple of people they're interviewing. Maybe that person needs to sit down with someone and say, interview, and then at the end say, what do you think? and maybe they need an honest answer.
I tell our students to get body makeup. Could we hear from the other?
Yeah.
Full panel.
Yeah, okay, sorry, because we're running out of time.
Sure, and in the interest
I
of
hope
time,
this is interesting, yeah.
in the interest of time, I'm going to skip the things you already know, which is I've brought to our company, and the main IT entry level is help desk, web developer, and information security. Those are the three places entry level IT. The things I'd like to additionally have you think about: customer relationship management is becoming huge, and it's going to grow immensely. Companies will need it. And what it really comes down to, somebody who can build relational databases, somebody who can analyze data, and somebody who can design a good-looking, informative report. That is going to be huge. A good-looking, informative report, that is a skill that will get your students employed. That means data analysis skills. That means statistical analysis skills. Those are things you're going to have to encourage them to want to learn for themselves. Because I know you're not going to be able to put that in your curriculums, but you can tell them. If they want to learn those things, they will get a job.
I just hired one last week.
There you go. The next thing, which I already said a little bit, but engage with your local businesses. If you've got a web design class, I guarantee you there's a 10-person company who would love to have a web page. My father's a self-employed plumber. He had some guy building a web page for $500. He'd rather have your students do it for free. He would love to give them a job building that, which then they can put on their resume and say, go to garysreadingservice.com and look at the website he's got, because I built it.
Actually, it's going to lead to nonprofit.
Okay, so you might have some limitations, but so there's that. The last thing is encourage them to look at regular business departments that aren't IT. We just made a hire for an administrative assistant. It was a $10 an hour position, and because of the economy, we got 30 applications. What do our admins need to be able to do? They need to be able to use the Office suite efficiently. They need to be able to have their computer run and not come to asking us questions every time we need something done. And the reason there are no mid-level hires into our company, because I agree, top level, bottom level. Everybody else either comes from the bottom level or from our other departments because they know how our business runs. So if our admin who we hired who has these technical skills, in 3 years he's going to understand how Mechanics Bank works. And when he applies to be the mid-level network technician, he's going to get hired because he knows how our company works. He knows what the business is doing, and he's going to be able to move laterally into IT. So encourage them to look outside of the IT. And that's what I've got for you.
I would like to add that we had an admin who came in. She was going to college, but when she graduated, she moved up from admin to senior advisor in 5 years and went from 40,000 to 50,000.
Well, and I guess part of that comment of looking in the other departments, every department in the world would love not to have to call the help desk, right? I mean, think about your own department. Do you like calling your help desk? No. You would much rather have somebody in your department who knows how to do what they're doing. That is a skill that will get them hired in an entry-level position in some other department. And then within 3 years, I guarantee you, they'll be in the IT department. So that's my brief.
Ron, you're City of Concord.
In City of Concord in the East Bay, yes, right next door to DVC.
Yeah.
I would simply echo a lot of what my colleagues here have said, and I think there's 3 things. If you take nothing else away from here, I would hope you would take this away. One is, technology does not matter. Teach whatever technology you want. Teach COBOL. Give me someone who knows how to diagnose a problem and arrive at a solution. That's all I care about. Whether it's COBOL, C++, whatever, is not the point. I have a problem, I need a solution. You've heard talking about the business. Yes. Understand how the business cycle works. You may have the greatest, coolest thing you want to do, and it may solve 1 million problems. If it costs $10 million, I ain't going to be able to do it. You have to be able to put it in context of, we have this issue, it's causing the business to have this pain, here's the solution. Coming back a bit to troubleshooting, I like the idea of having some sort of scientific approach, whether it's physics, chemistry, whatever, is not so much my concern as we need people who can say, I did this action, this happened, why? And be able to answer that. Whether I'm typing on a Cisco switch, iOS command line interface, or I'm clicking a checkbox in Microsoft Server install, I don't care that they know which box to check. I care that they know what that box does. I can teach them that. But if they don't have that approach, they don't have the skills coming out of your classes to say, here's a problem, here's the 3 things I think will fix it and why, and then what happened when I applied those things.
Yes.
It brings up the integration idea. You guys were talking about scripting, don't have a class on scripting, and the keynote speaker was talking about capstone classes, but I think that all these kinds of problem solving and communication skills can be integrated into every single class that you teach. Just by, I use project-based learning where they're working in teams and they have to make presentations and they have people from industry come in and critique the student work. And I think that it's not something to leave till the end or to have a whole class just in project management that has no context, that while they're learning whatever they're learning, they can be learning how to learn, they can be learning how to communicate about it and how to work with others.
Main management to keep you on schedule. Let me say this very quickly then.
Yeah, shoot.
I think 2 messages that are very consistently echoed across here is make sure that people understand more than just one silo. Make sure they understand how all the pieces fit together. And teach them to be the professionals they're going to become, not the technicians that I can hire a dime a dozen on the street. I can tell you, I came out, I've got a master's degree in linguistic anthropology. I have no official training in technology. I started on the help desk, I worked hard, I worked my way up, I asked questions. I love to give people those kinds of opportunities. I never thought of IT as a profession. I went back to get my master's because I wanted to be a professional. I was going to be a professor. IT wasn't a profession. Let me tell you, yes it is. Help them be professionals in this profession.
So I think we need to wrap. Let me thank the panel. And let me thank all of you for attending my session. My name, again, is Doug Spindler with Diablo Valley College. I hope you find this very helpful. And as I said, you know, we're all in this together, right?
I'll put some business cards up here if you want.